Did the Woodward and Bernstein reporting on Watergate lead to vast new numbers coming into journalism schools in the country?
That is addressed in the book as under what I call a subsidiary myth, a myth that is spun off by another broader media-driven myth. The broader myth is the one of the heroic journalists that Woodward and Bernstein brought down Richard Nixon's corrupt presidency. The subsidiary myth is that Woodward and Bernstein, being young, their book, All the President's Men, came out when they were 30 and 31, respectively. Young guys. They made journalism look glamorous. They made journalism look sexy. And the movie, All the President's Men, which came out in April 1976, solidified that notion of journalism as a very sexy and entertaining and appealing profession. So, thousands and thousands of young people decided to major in journalism programs in colleges and universities across the country. The best research on this topic clearly shows that that's not true, that the surge in enrollments in journalism and mass communication programs at U.S. universities and colleges had begun well before Watergate, was underway well before Woodward and Bernstein became household names.
Would those 20 people have gone to jail, gone to prison, if there hadn't been a Woodward and Bernstein?
I think so, almost certainly. They probably... Richard Nixon, I think, would have survived his presidency. He would have served out his term, his second term, had it not been for the existence of the Watergate tapes. That's my view. I mean, there's no way of knowing this. And the Supreme Court forced Richard Nixon to surrender the tapes that really clearly showed his culpability, his guilty knowledge, his role in covering up or attempting to cover up the Watergate scandal. Had it not been for those tapes, I think Nixon would have survived as a wounded president, but would not have resigned. It was only because of the existence of those tapes and the Supreme Court's forcing them out under subpoena by federal special prosecutors that Richard Nixon finally gave up the office.
Again, the movie, All the President's Men, Hal Holbrook plays the part of Mark Felt, Deep Throat, and
yes.
Robert Redford plays the part of Bob Woodward, and then Dustin Hoffman, Carl Bernstein. Let's look at just a little clip of, they're in the garage, it's dark, and we'll come back.
That garage, by the way, is in Roslyn, Virginia.
Right over the bridge here from where we're
exactly.
sitting. Let's watch this.
Cover-up had little to do with Watergate. It was mainly to protect the covert operations. It leads everywhere. Get out your notebook. There's more. Your lives are in danger.
Hi, I finally got Sloan on the phone.
Any evidence that their lives were threatened?
Not really, although the book All the President's Men alludes to the fact that Deep Throat, their Woodward's anonymous source, made such a representation. I don't think that they really their lives were in danger.
So what do you say to your students? You got journalism students sitting in front of you. They're getting history off of Hollywood, which you say is often wrong.
Or exaggerated, or,
And we watch it, as you point out, the media loves to give itself prizes and awards.
Right.
And they perpetuate this whole business.
I think that students are very shrewd, sharp, and they can, although many of them have seen All the President's Men. Many more have seen All the President's Men than have read All the President's Men, the book. I think that students are inclined to be skeptical, inclined to challenge conventional wisdom, many of them. I don't think they necessarily take this as gospel. I think they would critically assess this, and I think that showing trying to take this apart, to unpack the Watergate story, the heroic journalist myth, it becomes pretty clear that journalists alone couldn't have brought down the presidency of Richard Nixon. I mean, it's just too vast, too powerful, too much in control. It had to be a combination of other forces and factors. As I mentioned earlier, the special prosecutor, federal investigators, grand juries, federal judges, bipartisan congressional panels, and ultimately the Supreme Court. You needed that to really get at the criminality of the Richard Nixon administration.
I've never